Hello, Natasha. Delighted to be chatting with you. Myself and Steve Evans here.
Hi, nice to meet you both.
Hi,
Excited to be
Natasha.
here.
Good to, yeah, really good to make your acquaintance finally. Terry's told me a little bit about you. So how's life out in Midwest? Is it just after midday there now? Is it soaring heat or is it freezing cold and damp? I have no idea what the weather's like where you are.
Well, it's pretty nice today, but it's gonna rain. So, usually around this time of year, we finally had some great weather yesterday. It was sunny and like 70 something degrees out, and it was like the first nice day in a while, which was really nice. Today is a little chillier than that and a little cloudier, but things are looking up.
Sounds a little similar to here. We've had it quite warm and muggy today, but it actually rained, but it was still not cold. It was one of those days. Can't seem to make up its mind. But anyway.
Tasha, before talking about your unfinished business novel, tell us what you do to relax. Is this
Oh,
astrology,
yeah.
tarot cards, watching serial killers, documentaries?
I was
Yeah.
interested in that too.
I was wondering where you found that out from. Was it from
On your
my
website?
bio in my book?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
my
Website.
website.
on your website.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. No, I love tarot cards. I actually have like 7 decks and I love just kind of playing around with them. I don't take it too seriously or anything. It's more just for fun for me. But I do readings for friends and stuff sometimes, and they always think they're very accurate. I don't know, whatever. And I really like to watch tarot card readings on YouTube. It's kind of a
Oh,
guilty pleasure I
Oh
have.
wow.
yeah, I've
Wow.
never seen that.
Yeah, I
No, I
mean, if
haven't.
you just like look up your astrology sign, like I'm a Sagittarius, so I'll look up like Sagittarius tarot reading today or whatever, and
Yeah.
you can find somebody doing them, and it's just kind of fun. I don't know.
Oh, that's good.
That this tarot business, when you're doing readings for people and you say it's for fun, I bet you
Yeah.
people take it really seriously though, don't they? And they think, I'm going to cross the road now and something's going to happen. I know it's a bit extreme, but do you find
It's
they like that, or people do find it's only a bit of fun?
it's just a bit of fun. I mean, I just and then I don't like pretend to be a psychic or that I can read their future or anything. I'm more like, okay, so this is what's happening in your life right now. This is what this means and this is what your advice is, kind of thing.
Moving on to your excellent website, as Terry's already mentioned, it's booksbynatasha.com. Now, you mentioned you've got a bit of a background in psychology. Can you tell us a little bit about this, where that all started from?
Well, gosh, when I was even though I always wanted to be a writer, I was kind of deterred from that path when I was younger. And so everyone was like, oh, do something more practical. You're not going to make money as a
Yeah.
writer, whatever. And so I studied psychology in college just because it was really interesting to me. I didn't even really plan on majoring in it. I just kept taking the classes because I wanted to understand people and why they do the things that they do. And I mean, I still don't understand people or why they do the things they do, but I try. And I wanted to help people in some way. So I had planned on becoming a therapist at one point, but my life took a different path and then circled back around to writing a few years ago. So now I'm trying to pursue the dream.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. All right. So do you think psychology has given you a bit of a head start in writing fiction?
I think so, yeah. I mean, I think that the depth that I can put into my characters probably stems from my understanding of human nature.
Yeah, yeah. Just going back slightly, you said people try to discourage you from writing. Is they all saying you'll never make any money out of that? Was that what it was? That's what we've heard a lot of,
Yeah.
Oh, you'll never
Yeah.
make it. The 10 a penny, these authors.
Yeah. I mean, it's frustrating because I'm trying to do the opposite with my kids. I'm trying to be like, well, what do you want to do? You can do anything you want to do. You can be anything you want to be. Just figure out what that is and go for it. And I'll help you and I'll support you. And that's part of why I'm pursuing this so passionately, is because I want to set that example for my girl. Like, you can watch me show you how.
Okay.
Excellent.
Sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I got a little passionate about that.
No, it's fine.
No, it's fine. Good.
Natasha, tell us about we'll talk about the novel now, the main focus, the erotic romance novel, Unfinished Business. On the inside cover, it says, this book was written as a dare. Who dared
Yeah.
you to write this?
So another writer friend of mine, Sean Sweeney, he was writing erotic fiction, and I was kind of reading it and was just like, oh wow, that's really spicy. And he was like, you should give it a try, like as a writing exercise. Like you should just try a story, a short story. And I was like, oh gosh, I couldn't write like that. I don't know, you know. And then I was just like, I'll give it a go. What the hell? So I did. And then it was really fun. It was really fun writing, and it was like flowed much more naturally than anything I had written up to that point. And it was actually my first dabble in fiction was with this, the way this started was this writing exercise. And so the story kept going and just became a whole book unintentionally.
The main character, Carissa, is that based on yourself?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. We often get people who it is, you know, and they don't like, some people don't like to acknowledge that, like, but you know,
They say there's
each to their
elements
own.
of there. Yeah. Is it a standalone, this book, or is it the first in a series of Carissa Collins novels?
Yeah, so I'm planning it to be a standalone. If people want a sequel, I may write one, but it's going to be pretty far down the line because I have like 9 other projects in the works right now. So
I was
That's a
going to
lot.
say, because you're in the aren't you in the middle of writing another book now?
yeah, I'm in the middle of writing like a bunch of books. So I have one that's a finished first draft that I'm trying to force myself to edit because that's my least favorite part of the process. And then I have one that I just started a couple months ago that's probably about a third of the way through the first draft. And then I have like a bunch of others that I've started and like are letting breathe for a while, I guess, until they're ready to be finished.
Okay. Are they all the same genre, or are you writing different genres?
I'm all over the place.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
the next one that I plan on publishing is called Hidden Obsession, and it's more of a mystery suspense thriller.
Okay.
But
Right.
it'll still have a romance subplot, so there will still be some of the spice of Unfinished Business, but not nearly the level of this one.
I don't know how you managed to juggle that many
Yeah,
balls in
it's a
the air,
lot.
if you like, when so many different stories. I know you women supposed to be able to multitask better than men, but
Yeah.
I mean, I think I'm not bad at multitasking, but I don't think I could do what you're doing.
No chance.
Really don't. Speaking of,
I'm trying to like rein the squirrel in and, and focus on one thing at a time, but it's really hard because if you get a new idea, you're like, oh my gosh, I really have to run with this new idea. And then the rest kind of gets pushed off. Like, I mean, I wrote the draft for Unfinished Business in like 8 months, but then set it aside and worked on other things. And it took me like 2 years after finishing the first draft to finally have it completely edited and revised and published.
wow, that'd wind me up. I'd be like, too many strings hanging left on,
Yeah.
you know, unattached, and I'd need to tie them all up. But each to their own. Yeah, we all work in different ways, and it's
Yeah.
interesting to hear how you do. But how much research did you carry out for the Unfinished Business novel? Did it take you a lot? Like you said, you started it and put it down and came back to it. Did you
Yeah, I
research
mean,
in
there was
between
things
then?
I had to research to make sure that they were like valid. I mean, I guess things that I don't necessarily have a lot of knowledge of, like there's a polymorph character, so I had to do some research on what all that entailed and things of that nature. And there's a little part where the author, the main character in the story is an author as well, and her book turns into a movie, so I had to do some research on that and how that all worked out as well. No, I didn't have to do as much research for this one as I have to for the one I'm working on now, because the main character is a detective, and that's a little bit more outside of my realm of knowledge.
Ah, fair
What
enough, yeah.
genre of fiction do you read yourself?
So I actually love reading like crime novels and those things of those nature, but I also like there to be romance subplot within those novels as well. So I've read a lot of Lisa Gardner and Kay Hooper, Dean Koontz.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. So I mean, things of that nature.
Have you read that
Cool.
Dean Koontz book about where he has the dog,
Yeah.
the special powers, the Labrador, I think it is, or Border Collie?
Watchers.
That's the one. Yeah, I love that book.
That was one of
That's-
my favorites.
That should be a film.
It should.
Oh, I need to read that. I
It's
didn't.
brilliant.
I didn't know about that. Oh, I'd love that book. I can
You would,
tell
Steve.
just
Yeah,
by the
definitely.
way you've talked about it.
Yeah, yeah.
Right, remind me again.
I can't believe
Sorry,
that
I'll
one
look-
isn't. I can't believe that one isn't a movie because he has other ones that are.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Do you
that
know
was, I think that seems to be a favorite of everybody.
I think I've read somewhere that it was made into a movie, but not with the same plot. It's sort of,
Oh.
different style on there. But I think following the whole book, that would make a brilliant film. What country is your best market so far, Natasha? Is it the USA, UK, Europe?
So far, the US has been my best market from what I can tell, at least on Amazon and people that I've sent signed copies to. Although I have sent a fair amount to Canada and the UK as well. The shipping is crazy, but
Oh, expensive.
yeah.
Yeah.
It shouldn't,
but-
you wouldn't think it would be that much to send a book to Canada since it's literally my neighbor, but it is.
Yeah, we've heard that from. Was it Alexandra, the Polish lady? Wouldn't
Oh, that's
she
right,
say
It was costing a
sales-
fortune. Yeah.
She had to get stuff from America to Poland, and it was absolute fortune it
Yeah.
cost her.
Yeah.
It costs
Incredible,
more
yeah.
to ship than the cost of the book.
Well, that was it. That's what she was
Yeah.
saying. She was trying to find a way around it because it was going to cost her a bomb, and it wouldn't be worth it. But she managed it in the end.
Yeah.
But the price of her book, because it was such a big book, because it was non-fiction, was really expensive anyway. So I think it was sort of justified in the end. But anyway, back to you. We'll come back to talking a little about your publishing and how you got published. But did you hire a professional for you sorting your book cover out, or do your editing for you? Or
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say you probably had to, did you? Because you've got to have a critical eye on it, I think, haven't you?
Yeah, I hired a cover artist. I did find the image that I wanted myself and
Yeah.
sent it to him and just was like, I want this, but I want it in black and white, and I want, because it was in color, and then I want the lips and the nails red, and then we'll work on the rest of the cover from there. And he did a great job putting up with me and all my like back and forth changes because but kind of wanted it to be like a ripped page at first. And then we decided to go away from that because I didn't like how it looked visually. And we went back and forth on the fonts for the title and stuff a bunch of times. And so I'm really thankful that he had patience with me and all the changes. And then I did hire an editor to look over everything before I threw it out there, because even though I'd had several beta readers go through and kind of give me their thoughts and opinions, I just wanted to make sure that I hired a professional to take a look over everything before I published it.
Yeah.
You mentioned part of the plot. There's a film deal within the plot. If in real life, touch wood, if you got approached for a film or a television deal of the novel, would you have any actors in mind to play the real lead roles of Carissa Collins, Robert Lockland, and Tristan Mickelson?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I've thought about it a lot, and I haven't really zeroed in on anybody in particular. I feel like I can't find anybody that would encompass Carissa well enough. I've thought about like Margot Robbie,
Yeah.
maybe, or some or what's that actress?
Is she from Suicide Squad, Margaret, the one you mentioned? She's the actress in Suicide Squad and played Barbie as well recently.
Yeah, maybe.
Oh.
I don't know. And then I've thought about like, have you seen that new show that's like a spin-off of Game of Thrones?
Oh yeah, they go back in time.
The Dragon? Is it the House of the Dragon?
That's it. It is actually, yeah.
Yeah. And so there's the character Sir Christian Cole, who's got dark hair and dark eyes. I thought of like maybe him for like the Robert character.
Yeah.
I haven't really thought of anyone for Tristan's character. I'd have to look. It's such a like Well, who knows if that would ever happen, but I have thought about casting somebody as Carissa for years, and I
Yeah.
just haven't put my finger on somebody that I'm like, oh, I definitely want her, you know.
As we just touched on a minute ago and mentioned your publishing, and I think you've gone down, in fact, I know you've gone down the road of being independently published. Did you have a look at the other route, getting a proper publisher and all the hassle and that goes with it? I know some people have told us it's a nightmare. Did you find the same, or?
Yeah, so I did query maybe a dozen agents, and one was a pretty big one. I don't know if you're familiar with Colleen Hoover as an author. She's pretty big here for romance. But when I picked up one of her books, I realized how similar our writing styles were, which was kind of shocking because mine's a little bit different than most of what I've read. And so then I looked up her agent and queried her agent and kind of said, like, we have very similar writing styles, blah, blah, blah. And then that agent did actually request my full manuscript. That was my first full request, and it was still a no. And at that point, I was just like, you know, this would have been like the perfect home for me, you know, and I was like, and I'm kind of exhausted with this process because I'm not really getting a lot of like feedback of like why they're not wanting to, you know, in the so I was just like, I'm just gonna do it myself because I have the following, I have the fan base, people are gonna read it, and I don't have the patience to wait years to find the right home for my book. When, you know, I had a friend that had an agent already, and it still was 2 years, and she still hadn't found a publisher. And I was just like, I don't have that kind of time to wait. I want to get my words out there.
Today on Amazon, you got some excellent reviews on there. Most of
Yeah.
them 5-star reviews. Every one of them saying brilliant read.
Yeah, I mean, I have a couple that aren't great, but I don't like to focus on those.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, well, they make the others look more authentic. If you get a couple of poor reviews, whilst the majority of the 5-star reviews, you know, it looks as though they're all more genuine, if you like. It adds
Yeah.
weight to the better reviews, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I had one review on Goodreads that was written like 2 days after the book was released,
Yeah.
and it was seemed like more of an attack on me as an
What?
author than an actual book. So I was like, did you even read it?
I don't know
I
why
don't know.
people
So
do that.
yeah,
You've got nothing
It's
nice to
so
say, don't
annoying,
say
that.
anything. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so annoying.
yeah.
Really,
But I
really.
just try not to let it get me down because I've had so much more positive feedback on it. And I just like focus on that because, and writing is subjective anyway. Not everybody is going to love it, especially something like this. It kind of colors outside the lines, and some people are going to be triggered by some of the things in there. And that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
I noticed you've got actually a really good number of followers on Twitter. It's 147,000 plus of there. Last time I looked earlier on today.
Brilliant.
That is awesome. You know, it really is quite good. Well, very good. Considering you've only got one finished work of art, really, haven't you? Your unfinished business, and you've got a few in the pipeline. How have you managed to get so many followers? And then, is that what you use as your platform for promoting your writing? I would imagine so, because it's your followers is so big.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I built it for. And I started it, you know, I got on Twitter in 2019. So I haven't been on there super long, but somebody was like, if you want to be a writer, you need to get on Twitter. And I was like, okay, like I have no idea what I'm doing on Twitter or what it's about. So I got on there and I didn't know anyone. So I just said random stuff that came to my head, and I didn't have a filter at all on my thoughts, and people liked it. And so that it just kind of grew from there. And I kind of figured out how to make the algorithm work for me. And I actually manage other accounts on Twitter as well to help them grow.
Natasha, we mentioned your website earlier. Who created the website? Did you do that yourself, or did you get a professional in for the website?
Actually, my sister-in-law did it for me.
Superb.
Wow.
She's a digital marketing
there you go.
entrepreneur. So she helped me with that and my other website too. So she's really been great and supportive.
Okay. Yeah. Tell us about your writing routine. Have you got a writer's room in the house that you go to?
Not really. I mean, I have my desk set up in my bedroom, so it's like my office kind of, and then
Yeah.
but I also do a lot of my writing on my phone, actually,
What?
on like an app.
Oh,
I couldn't
I'll
do
do it
that.
in the car.
Yeah. Have you got tiny
oh,
fingers to type on the phone? I got my
Yeah, I
fingers are
mean,
horrible. Too
I
big.
mean, I love to write out in nature if I can, if it's nice out. I love to be outside. That's more calming for me than being stuck in a dark room. But I'm kind of all over the place. Like I said, if we're going on a 3-hour long car ride, I'll try to write in the car, and I usually can get about 1,000 words written at least in the car, even
Oh,
with the noise of the kids and everything
yeah.
else. But yeah, I've learned to adapt. I used to need silence and quiet, and now I'm just like, I need to get words down. So
Oh,
wherever.
okay.
that's impressive. Like
It
1,000
is.
words, and you're doing it
Yeah.
on your phone. My
Yeah.
word. I'd have to have my laptop in the car, and then it'd be struggling balancing on my lap,
Yeah.
telling kids to shut up, and be a nightmare. A
Yeah.
nightmare.
Yeah.
I
Oh
think
yeah,
it just
credit to you.
depends on how badly the story wants to get out. Like
Ah,
didn't have time to write. I was working full time, and I'm not right now, but I was, and I had 0 time for writing. So then we went on a little car ride on the weekend, and I banged out like 3,000 words between the way there and the way back. And I was just like, oh, I needed that so bad. I needed to get that out.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Just going back to at the start, Terry was talking about, or you were talking about tarot cards and
Yeah.
serial killer documentaries. It also says on there you love animals. Do you have pets at home, like animals, dogs, cats as well? Just to throw in the
Yeah,
mix.
I have 2 cats. They are like Siamese, like Lynx Point Siamese mixes, and
Yeah.
they're very like, I want to say antisocial, but that's not really the word, because they like affection on their own terms, of course.
That's
But
cats for you.
most of the time they're just content with doing their own thing. And yeah, I mean, I'd love to get a dog. We are planning on probably getting a dog soonish. We mistakenly promised our 4-year-old years ago that when she turns 5, we'll get a dog. So now we have to
Ooh,
make good on that promise.
they never forget, do they?
Yeah.
Finally, from me then, what advice would you give for someone who's thinking of penning a book for the first time? How would you say tell them to go about it and how to approach it?
So I'm a pantster, and I totally fly by the seat of my pants when I'm writing. So I don't often have the best advice as far as like structurally or organizationally, because
Yeah.
that's not how I work. So, but I feel like people often get too caught up in like, okay, well, I don't know where it's going to go from here to here, and like trying to plan it all out. And my biggest advice is just start writing, and then you can move things around and shape them later, because I think that's what holds people back from it sometimes. They're like, I have this idea, but I don't, and like, I never know where my story is going to go. Usually when I start writing, I just start, and sometimes that becomes the middle and not the beginning or whatever. And you can, I mean, the editing phase is where that worry is for, and you just need to like let it flow.
Yeah. Well, Natasha, it's looks like time's caught up with us, but I've really enjoyed this chat. Let's just say thanks very much. And look, can we keep in touch and maybe have another chat when the next novel's released, Natasha?
That would be great. I'd love
Brilliant.
to.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, for now, thank you very much and bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Cheers.